Beetles. They may not be the most welcome house guest, but artists have been inspired by them for millennia. Scarabs, for example, are found in the arts of ancient Egypt as far back as 4,000 years ago. Today, I want to share contemporary artists' books that are inspired by beetles, Suze Woolf's Bark Beetle book series, and Gabby Cooksey's Chronicles of a Coleopterists Strikingly Curious Swarm. Seattle artist Suze Woolf is inspired by nature, science, and iteration. A lifelong outdoors enthusiast, she regularly paints and draws on site. Woolf began her ongoing Bark Beetle series in 2016 after noticing unusual marks in wood. To Woolf, they looked like mysterious writing and piqued her curiosity. She discovered that they were trails left behind after certain bark beetles tunnel under bark. This cuts off the tree's food and water supply, eventually leading to the tree's death. Since that first discovery, Woolf has made over 30 unique artist books about bark beetles. Each of the books explores her research about bark beetles as well as their relationship to the environment. After sourcing logs from private or Forest Service land, Woolf determines the bindings by looking at the wood's form and materiality. From there, she conducts extensive research and explores what will work best to convey her ideas. Each book focuses on a specific aspect of the bark beetles. Volume 22, titled Scolited Life Cycle, illustrates the path from egg to beetle. The embroidery represents the path the larvae chew through the wood to exit the tree. On the lowest page, the small beads are like the eggs that beetles lay under the bark. I feel like I'm simultaneously looking at two cross-sections, one of the tree and one of the beetle's early life. When I close the book again, I see the beetle passages in a different way. They are no longer mysterious writing. I understand more about the actual relationship between the beetles and the wood. Volume 20, titled Unwinding Through Time, addresses tree mortality in Washington state that resulted from bark beetles. The book unwinds to reveal a cylinder. Woolf borrowed this folded form from one designed for use in outer space. It can close flat and open into a column. Woolf chose this structure to complement the book's focus of showing how areas of beetle-devastated trees expand, contract, and begin again in a new location. The imagery on this column comes from U.S. Forest Service aerial detection survey maps that track tree mortality. We can see the areas of green and red beginning in 1997 and progressing to 2009. Where more red appears, more trees were killed by the bark beetles. I like interacting with these sculptural and tactile books. Opening each one, touching the materials and manipulating them, I get to engage my body directly with the very specific information that Woolf is pointing me to. When I step back and think about the many volumes she has created, I can see Woolf's bigger picture of our interconnected environment and the mutual impacts of climate change, humans, and the bark beetles. Gabby Cooksey is a Tacoma, Washington-based book artist and binder. She had always been interested in beetles and decided with this book to make a deep dive. Much the way Woolf's bark beetle books draw me in with their materials and tactility, the hefty and luscious title and cover of Gabby Cooksey's Chronicles of a Coleopterists Strikingly Curious Swarm immediately demand my attention. Opening the cover rushes me with a flood of bright color and texture. Next, I am welcomed into this book by an unknown author, a collector of stories who is eager to invite us into their passion. Part album, part field guide. Now we get to meet the stars of this book, the individuals that make up this swarm. Each spread features a low-relief image of a beetle. These portraits are embossed in foil and colored with bright alcohol inks. I am astounded by the first story of this ruby miner, a beetle alternative to a canary in a coal mine. Wow, I love beetles, and I had no idea that such a thing existed. It draws my attention to how people have adapted animals for their utility, but also prize them for their beautiful bodies. Next is the Atlas beetle, which can be taught the art of map making. Incredible! Wait, really? Is this true? Can this collector of stories really be believed? While some of the texts are from Charles Darwin, Aesop's Fables, and others, Cooksey has, in fact, written 7 of these stories. She intended them to feel true, as though you may have heard them before, but you're not entirely sure. Cooksey told me she loves a good story, and when she saw some of these beetles, their names or the way they looked would jump out at her, inspiring a backstory that she would just run with. I take great pleasure in her playfulness, set against the traditional format of this book. I wondered, what if this were an even more traditional album, with these specimens mounted on a subdued black paper? I might be inclined to think that the colorful brush marks compete with the brilliant beetles and the gold letterpress printed text on each page. Is it too much? It's not. I revel in all of this color because it adds to the air of legend and mystery. I feel like I'm passing through a shimmering curtain into a different spatial plane, one where myths and fantasies float around us, waiting to be plucked from the air and kept in our own collector's albums. Cooksey's highly entertaining Beatles stories and decadent illustrations, encased in this toothsome volume, bring me to this world. This book is, itself, a prize for any of the coleopterists among us. With more than 400,000 known species across the world today, beetles remain a seemingly endless font of inspiration for artists. In Washington state alone, Suze Woolf blends art and science to create her unique bark beetle books, and Gabby Cooksey's Chronicles of a Coleopterists Strikingly Curious Swarm engulfs us in decadent and playful fictions. Beetle Mania is alive and thriving.